Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. As we've been discussing, people are moving to Detroit's outer suburban ring. They're also moving to the exurbs. But in order to get the most bang out of our public services and to attract young people to Michigan, many scholars are trying to get people to move to Detroit proper and to its inner suburban ring. According to the latest numbers, that's not where the majority of people are moving, though. But there are still folks that move to neighborhoods like Midtown, Corktown, and West Village in Detroit and to suburbs like Ferndale, Royal Oak, and Dearborn. Why are they doing that? And what would cause more people to move to those areas? To discuss this now, we have Ro Harvard here. She's a realtor with Island Realty, which is part of Keller Williams Realty. Ro, thank you for making some time for us today on the Metro.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to be here.
So you sell to people in Metro Detroit and the city. Where are people buying the most?
I would say people are mostly buying in like your Royal Oak areas, your Ferndale areas. I've seen some Berkeley. I've seen some Dearborn. I have some people that's buying in Detroit. They're buying in the Corktown, in the Brush area, in the Midtown. Wherever there's a lot of amenities, that's what's drawing people to these cities. Even downriver, the Wyandotte area, people go there because they have a lot to offer. Nightlife, restaurants, things like that.
And something else that I'm noticing about some of the areas that you've mentioned too is walkability.
Yes. Being able to walk out your front door, whether it's to go get coffee, whether it's to grab dinner on a night that you don't feel like cooking, meet up with friends. It's just easy. It's very easy, and that seems to be extremely desirable. When I'm talking to my buyers, that's what's drawing them to these areas.
I mean, hey, in the Motor City,
yes.
Anytime you can avoid getting into your car. I mean,
yes.
we love our car culture, but also it creates a lot of stress.
Yes.
It creates a lot of extra time sitting and navigating traffic and
yes.
navigating angry folks. And it definitely can cheapen your quality of life the more time you spend in a car. So this all makes sense. But I'm wondering, Ro, how these trends that you're seeing, how they've changed, if at all, let's say over the past decade.
Okay, they've changed a lot because over the last decade, people were talking there was a buzz about the city, mm-hmm. right? But we had things coming to the city, but they were coming what we consider in real estate kind of at a snail pace almost. And then they just start popping up restaurants and nightlife and coffee shops and places for retail, things like that, right? And so I've seen this over the last decade where people kind of, their antennas start going up like, And the more that they start visiting these areas, the more desirable they became, right? And so when I'm getting these calls and I'm showing homes, these are the target areas and these are the reasons why. Amenities are important. I used to sell always in rural areas, right? And that's always like good, but as people start migrating through life and it's 25 minutes to the grocery store and there's no school transit and they have to, get their kids back and forth to school, I'm seeing a lot of those calls come back like, hey, Ro, we love the house, but we want to put it on the market. We want to move closer to where everything is.
I wonder, too, if this has to do with people craving community and connection, because I think about in some of the suburbs that really seem to define that word sprawl, the
yes.
big lawns,
mm-hmm.
big homes, and you feel far away from your neighbor and there's not as much walkability. Are you talking to folks who say, I'm wanting to feel more like I'm a part of community?
That's important, and I'm hearing that a lot. The disconnection is really getting to people, right? Where you're not close enough to your neighbors, and if you have children, there's not enough community, right? But those are the reasons that people are migrating to the areas that I named, because there's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of community, right? And it fulfills life, and it actually boosts their quality of life. So I believe that has a whole lot to do with it.
I'm wondering what kinds of homes people are buying right now, because when I think of exurbs, I think of new builds. Some people will call them McMansions, but with inner ring suburbs and the city proper, I think about older homes that might have more character. I think about duplexes and triplexes, but also with those older homes, we're talking about places that need repairs that might need a lot of love. What are you seeing?
So the areas such as like your if rather it's Indian Village or the Boston Edison area, which, those homes, those are big stately homes, but people are buying them. People are buying them. The one thing that I think that people are buying most is the single family homes. People are buying those mainly because we don't have a lot of multifamilies, especially in the inner cities. We don't have a lot of those, but when they come on the market, they're going like that. Income property, right, where you can live in one half and maybe rent out the other. I'm seeing that a lot, but the condos, the lofts, they go very quickly because of the easy maintenance and easy living. The carefree lifestyle. A lot of the young adults, they yearn for that. They kind of gravitate to that. But the single family homes, they're moving as long as they're in these areas, right, that I'm naming, because again, people want a sense of community. So the single family homes I sell a lot, but in those areas, and I think the only reason why multifamily homes are not selling as much, we don't have that many of them. Especially in like your Royal Oak and your Ferndale. We have some that have made apartments in them and things like that, but we don't have a lot of those. But when they come up in Midtown or they come up in Corktown, because we have some that they don't last at all, because that's exactly what people are looking for. If they can pick up a duplex in any of these areas, like hotcakes, they're gone.
Ro, as you're talking, what this reminds me is how interconnected housing is to education, to business. And I'm wondering for you as a realtor, how close you pay attention to new businesses popping up, to new amenities emerging, and then also to the state of schools in the city, for example. I mean, when we think about education in Detroit, so much rides on education in Detroit. The city can't fully revive itself unless the schools are really in a strong place.
I agree with that. And the schooling system is very important. It's to anybody that plans on having a family, or if they have children, and even those that don't. The reason why, because that plays a huge part in supply and demand, right? The better the school systems, over history, it has shown the better that neighborhood or that city does, because people want to come there. In the city of Detroit, we're doing our best to try to get there. We have to focus a lot on the education, and I believe that, in my personal opinion, we have to start offering a lot of the things that the outer skirts offer to make people want to come and actually bring their children or have a family or raise their kids here. Does that make sense?
It sure does. We're discussing where Metro Detroiters are moving right now. Our guest is Ro Harvard. She's a realtor with Island Realty, which is part of Keller Williams Realty. She sells a lot to people in Detroit and the metro area. I do, before we dig in a little bit more to Detroit and what you're seeing, the numbers tell us that most people are moving to places like Troy, Macomb Township, and Lyon. Why do you think people are moving out there?
A lot of the people are moving out there. So here's those areas, basically. So Troy has amenities. It has shopping. It has, the mall. It has a lot of things out there. But the school district plays a big part of that. South Lyon, the school district plays a big part of that, I think. And then you get a lot of house, right? In Detroit, we only have so much land, right? But you get a lot more house out there. And the competition is not as fierce. Even though there's a lot of people out there, there's not 17 buyers per door out there, right? It's just, I think that there's the way that buyers have seen it over history is that these are the places that you should buy. They just, where I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going here. I'm going there. But it's all based off what they've learned in the past.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of people that's actually studying what's happening now.
And when you say, too, you get a lot of house, what that makes me think about is how younger folks have rejected wanting to get a lot of house, and they're looking at tiny homes and they're looking at apartments and lofts and duplexes and condos, stuff that you mentioned already that is really appealing to some people. Are you anticipating that that's going to continue as we see the age of home buyers change?
Yes, it's going to definitely continue, and that's going to grow substantially because you have a lot of the people that are in the big homes. I always get those calls within a 10-year, 12-year, sometimes 7-year, where they're wanting to downsize. But the younger generation, they're not buying like that. They're buying off the things that I spoke about. They're buying off they're paying attention to the market more than anybody, the trends, the amenities, and they're watching the value go up because these are the things that buyers are looking for. So when I talk to young buyers, I'm always fascinated with how much they know about the market and how they're targeting certain areas, like the areas that I mentioned to you before, because they're actually paying attention. They're like, okay, I understand the other areas, but look what's happening in Brush. Look what's happening in Corktown. Look what's happening in Midtown. Look at the restaurants in Royal Oak and in Ferndale or Dearborn or Wyandotte. They're paying attention to that. And if you're watching that trend and you watching the values, I tell my buyers, even when I say that's a very competitive market, because believe it or not, a lot of people are buying in those areas.
When we talk about buying homes in Detroit, we would be remiss not to talk about gentrification, though. You grew up in Detroit. The city looks really different now. There are a lot more white folks, people with money moving into particular areas, and there are concerns from people who live in those areas and by young Black people who want to live in those areas that if the homes get bought up, then they won't be able to purchase a home in those neighborhoods. Do you believe that people who grew up in the suburbs and are buying homes in the city are making these places more exclusive? I mean, some of the ones that are most desirable that you've brought up several times here, whether it's Brush Park or Midtown.
So for me, because obviously culturally that everything that you're saying makes sense, but I take a different stance because I actually understand why African Americans, Black people, I understand our concern from a personal level, and the conversation that I have on a regular with my culture with Black people is, listen, I understand that you're concerned that they're buying up these properties, right? But I've been having this conversation for a decade and a half, a little bit longer than that, explaining to people in the community, hey, the house next door, buy that house. The lot next to that, buy that. The house across the street, Miss Evans' house, if she wants to sell, get together, buy that. Is the reason why we have to kind of show grace and understand is a lot of us, when we have a different connection with the city of Detroit, right? And it is very near and dear to us because we've been here through all of it, right? And a lot of us never left. And some of us did leave for reasons, whether it was schooling to get our kids in a better education, whether it was for safety, because there wasn't money coming into the city. So a lot of us left out of necessity. But those of us that still stayed in the city, we would like to see more of us buy here, but the conversation has to be had, right? And I'm always trying to have the conversation with my culture is, come back and see it. It's not that, whoever it is can buy this house. If you qualify, you can buy this house as well, right? And it's one of the things is trying to convince my culture that we do have value here in the city, and your money is welcome. Your money is welcome as well.
Ro Harvard, realtor with Island Realty, which is part of Keller Williams Realty. Ro, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro. Coming up, 2 Two Detroit arts icons will be honored for their contributions this weekend. We'll learn more. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. And this is the Metro. Stay with us.